What's up everyone? Welcome back to Everyday Unboxing. I'm Chris, and in today's video we'll be unboxing and reviewing this, the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So by now I'm sure a lot of people are asking, how is this different from the previous version? What is it all about? And should you buy it? Well, we'll check that out in today's video, so stay tuned and we'll talk about this. Alright, so as most of y'all know, we just recently wrapped up this year's Apple keynote event. And to be completely honest, this year's Apple event didn't leave me too much to talk about and somewhat less excited than I had expected. Now, I did, however, end up pre-ordering the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which won't arrive until October, as well as this Apple Watch Ultra 2. Now, just to dive into things, the unboxing experience pretty much has not changed from last year's first generation Ultra Watch unboxing, except maybe through the emphasis on Apple's carbon neutral achievements, which again, really didn't change anything from the packaging perspective. It's still the same experience with the minimal packaging using recycled material. Now, the box of course is just a little bit larger than the standard Apple Watch box, where you pretty much pull apart a couple of tabs to get to the inner box, which is holding the Apple Watch and your choice of bands. Now, in my case, I ended up ordering another dive band that's identical to the band that I had previously. In hindsight, I should have probably ordered one of the other bands so that I could at least have something different and just switch them out as needed. Now, in addition to the watch and the band, you also get your standard charging cable for the Apple Watch, which is a braided cable. Now, at first glance, both the first generation Apple Watch Ultra and the Ultra 2 are pretty identical. Now, if you look at them, it's almost impossible to tell them apart, which for a lot of people was a disappointment, since Apple typically does something different so that people can differentiate the previous generation hardware from the newest models. There wasn't even a color change, which was something that was highly anticipated for the Ultra 2. Now, when it comes to the setup of the watch, it's pretty much the same process, with the exception being that you should be running the latest iOS version 17. Now, that's a challenge that I ran into because I had an older iOS version on my phone. Other than that, everything in the setup process remains pretty much the same. All you have to do is put your iPhone next to the Apple Watch itself, and then once it's detected, scan the little pixel cloud that shows up, which should start the setup. And then pretty much everything is the same after that. Now, I guess the biggest changes is really just going back to the hardware itself. When you look deeper, what you'll realize are only minor changes on the internal hardware, as well as some slight UI changes with the watch face, assuming that you're using the default watch face. Now, that's something that isn't really going to be a big difference and something that you can't get on the Generation 1 Apple Watch Ultra. The internal hardware is actually where the biggest changes are, which enables a lot of the new features within the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Hardware-wise, you do get a slight spec bump thanks to the faster processor. Upgraded is the S9 chip, which has double the memory, is faster, more powerful, and more efficient than the previous Ultra's S8 chip, which you probably only notice if you look very closely at apps as you navigate on the watch and scroll through the different screens. Now, the real benefit of the processor when it comes to efficiency is the increase in brightness that the additional power affords you. That allows the watch face to be a lot more visible at 3000 nits versus the Ultra 1's 2000 nits peak brightness. And that's noticeable during the day when it's brighter outside. Now, in addition to that, this watch now also has an ultra wideband chip that allows you to pinpoint exactly where your other devices are, which is not something that was available in the previous versions of the Apple Watch Ultra, or even just the Apple Watches themselves. Now, what that means is that now when you're trying to find your phone and where it is, the watch itself will take you directly to it rather than just chime on the phone, giving you an idea of where it was. Now, that is actually something that I appreciate, especially because both my wife and I frequently misplace our phone. Now, the one thing that stood out, because they really emphasized it in the keynote, was this double tap feature. Now, I think Apple is really starting to double down on this type of functionality, which they first announced as a feature in next year's Apple Vision Pro. Now, what this feature does is that it allows you to perform certain functions simply by double tapping, or in this case, more like double pinching, your index finger and your thumb. Now, it's not yet available, of course, but it's expected to be implemented later this year. Now, technically, there is already somewhat of a similar feature that exists on your Apple Watch in the accessibility settings called Assistive Touch. However, I do think it's not as advanced as this new double tap feature. So definitely worth checking out. Now ultimately, I do think that this is a pretty cool feature. However, it's something that's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to and probably a little bit time to actually use. But then again, we'll see when it actually launches later in this year. Now in the end, I've been extremely satisfied and happy with the Apple Watch Ultra. And although there isn't that much of an update to the Ultra 2, I definitely do think I'll be just as happy with the new watch, even though there isn't anything breathtakingly new about it. Now I'd say it's worth considering and buying if you're someone who didn't upgrade to last year's Ultra watch, and if you're in the market for a rugged new sport watch from Apple to replace your regular Apple Watch. Other than that, if you've got last year's Apple Watch Ultra, I'd probably wait until the next upgrade, which will hopefully be a lot bigger upgrade with a lot more features, and maybe, if we're lucky, a different color. Anyways, I know this was a quick video, but I wanted to share with you my thoughts on the new Apple Watch Ultra 2 and let you know what I think about it. If you found this video helpful or interesting, help me out by smashing that like button, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell icon. In addition to that, I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you next time.